Welcome into the MPW Digital Postgame Show presented by DeadSoxy. I'm Neal McCready. That is Chase Parham. Ole Miss loses in Tuscaloosa 24-10. Rebels fall to 3-1 overall, 0-1 in the SEC. Alabama improves to 3-1, 1-0 in the SEC. We'll talk about that over the course of the next little bit. Jeffrey Wright will join us in a few minutes. I do want to tell you, I'm getting a little organized. This is a scramble for us a little bit on this side, but we're getting there. We're brought to you by DeadSoxy. Check out the exclusive selection of NIL products that directly give back to Ole Miss athletics. DeadSoxy knows that success on the field is directly impacted by what they contribute off the field. DeadSoxy wants you to be a part of the solution. Get something in return, the coolest socks on the planet. You can get individual pairs or sign up for the NIL sock subscription. With the subscription, you can not only get membership perks and early access to exclusive collaborations, but you also receive a regular rotation of NIL socks when you want them. It means you'll not only have the freshest socks in town, but you'll also be contributing directly to Ole Miss athletics and helping support the Rebels. DeadSoxy wants you to be a part of the NIL solution and help them get to 1,000 members to make a significant impact in the NIL landscape for Ole Miss athletics. So visit deadsoxy.com/rebels and stay soxy. Chase, how are you?
I'm okay. Neal, I'm trying to kind of gather thoughts a little bit because it was a a strange football game. We'll talk about the actual game. We'll talk about the ramifications from the game here on the show. I'll tell you about Twisted Tea here in a little while. Again, all podcasts. This will be in podcast form very quickly on MPW Digital, brought to you by Twisted Tea.
Yeah, quickly is probably the code word there, the key word there.
Yeah, we're just hanging out. Look, from a game standpoint, I mean, the couple quick reactions. We got content on rebelgrove.com, by the way. Neal's column is up. My rapid reaction is up as well. From a game standpoint, we'll get to Jeffrey in a minute. They had chances to really extend and gain momentum and a cushion in the first half and didn't do it. Alabama made mistakes. Ole Miss made mistakes. But when you're on the road and you're playing against Alabama, even this iteration of Alabama, you've got to make those plays. And Ole Miss didn't do that. They missed the field goal. They just went silent from an offensive standpoint. They had 3 straight punts where they abandoned the running game. I pointed out in the rapid reaction that Lane made a point earlier in the year to say that even when things were not going great, that they had to stick with the run game, that they had to really make it an effort because it opened up other things, and it's just the way things work. And he didn't do that. They had 3 straight possessions where Quinshon Judkins didn't touch the football. They didn't have a traditional run play during that run there. And you really saw, and I'm sure it's probably Neal's number 1 point, so I'm stealing it a little bit, is that Trey Harris was limited. He was limited. Sakari Franklin played, didn't do a ton from a statistical standpoint. Priestcorn played, but they still consistently did not get into the middle of the field. And they consistently did nothing intermediately and deep down the field. And because of that, I've seen the message board, and it's an easy target every week. This was not on Jackson Dart. Jackson had one really dumb throw there that was picked off in double coverage, and it was a killer of a series. There's no doubt about that. It was a dumb throw. It was ill-advised, and it was whatever. But otherwise, there were no options downfield. He's turned Jordan Watkins into a pretty good weapon. He missed the touchdown there late, but they're scrambling. They would have needed a 3-and-out or an onside kick and a touchdown. But I thought that he operated fine inside the play calling that made no sense at times and did not have anything to extend and stretch the field. Ole Miss was constantly running sideways and running into the short, and it's so hard to beat speed like that when that's the case. You're having to nickel and dime, and you're having to just get there and hope for a broken tackle and do all these different things. I mean, Neal and I were discussing Lane going for it on 4th and forever there
23.
inside his own territory, and they pick it up on a crossing route to Watkins, but my point at the time was they have nothing explosive. So you're going to need all 6 minutes if you're going to score twice, if you're going to get the ball back, all those kind of things. So, I mean, look, they had opportunities. They lost on special teams. They had a punt blocked, even though it only turned to 3 points. They missed the field goal. They multiple times could have had fair catches and started at the 25, and instead they were hit behind the 20. They got lucky with one of the Bentley fumbles. They got back on it, or the Bentley fumble and got back on it. They just did not play clean enough, and they couldn't take advantage of Alabama kicking 2 kickoffs out of bounds, them having the bad snap that turned the 7 into the 3 from the 1-yard line, all the different things. And then you got hit by the 2 things that Jalen Milroe can do is he can hit the deep ball and he can run. And that hurt Ole Miss in both ways. He hits the 2 huge deep balls there that really turned the game. And you turned him into, despite the defense playing an A+ first half and Suntrain Perkins really having his coming out party for Ole Miss, you let Milroe be pretty efficient in a way that I did not necessarily anticipate. I mean, Milroe finishes 17 of 21 for 225 and 177 rating for the day there. Again, this is not on the defense. They hold Alabama to basically 350 yards of total offense.
No, this is on
the
offense.
They were on the field almost half an hour through 3 quarters. I thought the defense played a really good game of football. This is on coaching, and this is on offense today is the reason they leave Tuscaloosa with a loss.
Lane Kiffin spent Sunday on his – look, let's call this the way it is. I'm not going to spin this. I said this would be a big win. It would have been. It's a big loss. It is. He spent Sunday throwing shade at Alabama's defensive coordinator situation. They held him to 10 points.
His lowest scoring output of his tenure at Ole Miss in an SEC game. He scored more points than that every time.
Ole Miss gets 301 yards of total offense. Ole Miss, a team that during the Kiffin era has been built on the running game, ran for 56 yards. 56 yards. Ole Miss had, I'm looking for plays here, 17 first downs. Alabama had 20. Ole Miss was 3 of 14 on third down. Alabama was 6 for 13.
65 plays.
Ole Miss ran 65 plays. Alabama ran 66. Alabama averaged 5.4 yards a play. Ole Miss averaged 4.6 yards a play. I mean, it just is what it is. Ole Miss was 2 for 4 in the red zone. Bama was 4 for 5.
Ole Miss completed 58% of their passes. Alabama completed 81.
I mean, Alabama threw for 225 and ran for 131. Ole Miss had 8 penalties. Alabama had 6. Y'all can talk about hold all you want to. They could have, had they called the holding on the Alabama left tackle and on Micah Pettis, we'd still be in the second quarter. They wouldn't have gotten there. They weren't going to get finished.
The two most egregious things that had outcome on games officiating went 1-1. It took a down away from Alabama when they kicked a field goal on third down.
Right.
And Watkins getting thrown out of bounds that would have extended the drive and allowed Ole Miss to stay in the game right there.
Yeah.
Those were the two plays I thought officiating-wise had the most impact on the game.
They missed the face mask on
Dart early.
Dart, but Ole Miss scored on the drive, so
yeah.
I don't know that it impacted the game. Here's the big thing for me is receiving. Jordan Watkins, 9 receptions, 57 yards. He's
14 targets.
Dayton Wade, 5 receptions for 88 yards. Ulysses Bentley, 3 catches for 41 yards. That's 17 total receptions among them. Priestcorn, 1 catch, 21 yards. Franklin, 1 catch, 16 yards. Heath, 1 catch, 12 yards. Judkins, 1 catch, 10 yards. They don't get anything downfield. Everything must be nickel and dimed. When you have to nickel and dime, it creates opportunity for mistake, for a hold, for a turnover. Look, Alabama wasted opportunities. Alabama threw an interception in the end zone. Alabama had 1st and goal at the 1 after blocking a punt and lost 18 yards and had to settle for a field goal. It was a weird game, and at the end of the day, I just said it was a missed opportunity repeatedly. Ole Miss had opportunities in the first half.
That was a beatable Alabama team with a great opportunity to beat them.
Super beatable.
In the first half, you should have been up 3 scores. Alabama played horrific football.
Could have easily, and Nick Saban said as much coming off the field. He goes, we're really fortunate to be 7-6. They were down 7-6 at the half, and then Alabama dominated the second half. Alabama wins the second half 18-3.
And as you said, Kiffin spent all week on this. All week. Again, it was a Super Bowl type. I mean, I closed my thing with this, and it's not verbatim. He talks about pro mindset. He does nothing the week of the Alabama game that is a pro mindset, and he never gets a pro result. That is what's happened here over the course of this week. And now, look, again, we're doing everything in very Cliff Notes fashion. We'll talk about it with Jeffrey. We'll move on. We'll talk. We'll have the whole week to talk about it. But they have LSU in a week. They have Arkansas in 2 weeks. Last year, this started the spiral. This led to everything that came after that for on-field, off-field, whatever you want to call it. Alabama was the impetus to the beginning of that and the catalyst to when that happened. And you don't get that today. Now you have to immediately, after all the stuff, because the players see it too. They see the social media. They see the quotes. They see the whole deal. You've got to get up and play a game where, from a season standpoint, and I believe this, I don't think this is crazy, because of it being back-to-back in the nature and everything else, and I don't think this is a hot take. Overwhelmingly, if you have hopes of something higher than the Gator Bowl, next week's a must-win.
Agreed.
Next week's a must-win. If you feel like this is a team, again, that's your decision. That's your thought. But if you think it is a situation where this team is going to anything more than like a Gator Bowl, next week's a must-win. Because if you lose 2 in a row, it just gets weird. And you still got Georgia down sitting there. I mean, it can cave on you.
Listen, I know. Maybe I'll be wrong. You know where I'm going with this. I said this all along. I thought this was a huge game. And now next week is a massive game. Because if you lose it, you're not going to Atlanta. Forget it. You're not going to Atlanta with 0-2 start, and you still got to go to Georgia. You still got to play Texas A&M. You're not going to Atlanta. So you have a team full of transfers, and Atlanta's out. A championship is out. Can you play with the same intensity? What happens when you play Arkansas? What happens when you play Auburn? What happens when you play Texas A&M? Next week's big, and if you don't if you don't win it, it's going to get really hard. It's going to get really tough.
Yeah, like I said, must win if you think you have a chance at 9 wins. That's my point.
If you have it, if you're going, I mean, you can lose to LSU and still have the 7-5, 8-4 season, but that's best case at that point. You lose to LSU, especially if you can't recover, and I mean, you run the risk of losing. My hot take was 4-2 is not on the table, or it's the least likely outcome. You lose to LSU, and don't answer the bell 6 days later, 7 days later against Arkansas, and you're 3-3, it's a disaster.
Because you got to look at it too, and we talked about this, and I think I took Neal's breath away because I think he forgot about it. That's a bye week in Auburn next after that.
No, I know. I'm well
the
aware.
The schedule is really funky in that way.
And look, Kevin Steele just put on paper the recipe for how you silence this offense. We'll get to Jeffrey.
I feel bad. I have no notes. You guys basically said everything that I had written down. I guess I would start here. I felt like this was a personnel game for the most part, because when I look at it, I don't think either team really out-schemed the other. I didn't see a lot of guys I didn't see a lot of plays where Alabama got guys wide open, or Alabama had a play where you're sitting there going like, man, that was a great play design, whatnot. And the same thing holds true with Ole Miss. The key differences for me were Alabama, when they threw it up to their receivers came down and made big plays. When Ole Miss needed guys to get separation, they didn't get separation. And the other big note that I had was I wrote in the first half that this felt a lot like LSU against Florida State early in the year, where LSU had, I thought, some chances early in the first half to knock them out, and they didn't. And so you're finding yourself asking, well, what do I think here in the first half? Because on the one hand, you could make an argument Ole Miss was probably fortunate that was only 7-6. Yet at the same time, I think if you were going to say Ole Miss is going to win this game, it needed to be more than 7-6, because it felt like the longer the game went on, because of the personnel reasons, Alabama had a wider margin for error. And when they needed guys to make plays, they did. And when Ole Miss needed guys to make plays, they largely came up empty.
You know, it's the baseball analogy, right? When you're watching your team and they load the bases in the first inning with nobody out and they don't score. And then they get first and second, nobody out in the second, and they just score one run. And then they do it again in the third. And then you're like, oh, my God, we left so many runs on the table right there. And then you end up looking back and you're like, the other team hits, you know, you're up 1-0 in the fifth, and the other team gets a walk and then a single, and then someone hits a bomb. And it's over. And you didn't lose because of the home run. You lost because you should have been up 6-0. It should be
correct.
You know, you had those opportunities. And that was Ole Miss today. And I thought Alabama in the second half I thought they made an offensive line adjustment. You guys know probably more offensive line play than I do. They made an OL adjustment that started to protect Milroe better. They let him get into a groove. I thought he played a really good second half because he wasn't getting pressured as much.
And they used his deep ball, which is the one throw he can make.
Yeah, they did. They steered to his strengths. And on the other side, and look, this is 3 games in a row, maybe 4. I don't really remember Mercer, and I choose to forget it. This is 3 games in a row. They can't establish the run. They just cannot establish the running game. And if this team can't establish the run and it can't get separation downfield that creates big chunk pass plays, it's going to be a tough slog.
Yeah, the other thing that I'd written down, kind of back to my personnel point, was it felt like to me both defenses outplayed the other team's offense. You know, Alabama's defense played better than Alabama's offense. Ole Miss's defense played better than Ole Miss's offense. But I thought the key difference in the second half was Alabama's offensive line got whipped pretty good in the first half. And I don't want this to sound like I'm putting this loss on the defense, because I picked Alabama for 24 points. I just thought Ole Miss was going to score 27. So Ole Miss kind of met my expectation. And honestly, like, the way that I watched it play, I thought they exceeded my expectations. I thought they had a pretty good plan for Milroe. But the key difference to me in the second half was when Ole Miss needed to get protection to let Dart throw the ball down the field, they really couldn't do it. But when Alabama needed to get protection for the most part, they were able to give him enough time to, you know, load up and throw.
It's a crazy stat too right here. I've seen this from Sammy, put it on Twitter and the thread. After 4 games, Ole Miss has 1 rush by a scholarship running back of at least 20 yards. After 3 games last season, they had 9.
Say that again.
Only 1 rush by 20 yards or more by a scholarship running back this season. This point last year, they had 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No explosiveness in the run game at all. And then no explosiveness in the pass game because, I mean, nobody can get open, Jeffrey. I mean, is it play calling? Is it simply ability to get downfield in space and separate one-on-ones as a receiver? I mean, what stalled out this Ole Miss offense to the level that it did?
So I was talking about this with my brother because we were watching the game together. The one thing that makes it difficult to determine is how much of their early down plays are just read plays. I mean, they're essentially running the option, RPO, whatnot. I think the bigger problem is I think they've got to abandon. Teams have figured out how to take away what they used to get. The explosive run that they used to get was after a first down, they'd line up quickly and they were able to run inside zone and get big chunk plays with Judkins. I think there's 2 problems. I think teams A have started to do it and they're packing in tighter. And then B, I don't think Judkins looks healthy. Like that's no reporting. I'm just saying what I'm watching is that does not look like the same running back that I've watched all last year.
Sometimes getting bigger is not better.
No, I mean, oftentimes you get stiffer, you lose mobility, you lose flexibility, maybe the ability to cut. I still think the adjustment that I would make, if you're not going to get your big time receivers back, I think if you look at some of their drives where they're able to get going, I've never been the world's biggest RPO fan. I think having it as part of your offense is something. I just don't like basing your offense off of it because in the end, it allows the defense to essentially dictate, and they can basically say, well, we want to take this away because we don't think you do this well. And so it allows them to kind of dictate what you're going to do. I think they need to do more of like the quick passing game early. And I'm not talking about bubble screens off of a play fake. I'm talking about like when you saw them getting their 2-minute drill and you got, one guy running deep, another guy running the quick out, getting those 5-6 yards, getting the drive starters, because you can almost tell on first down whether or not Ole Miss is going to have a good drive. If they don't get something started on first down, they just play from behind so much. And, I think the biggest deal is when Ole Miss can pass, they don't really have a receiver that really, and I don't mean that to be an insult to Watkins, who I think is gritty as hell. And that guy's getting every ounce out of what he's got. And I don't mean that as a shot at Wade, but like those are not guys that are going to be, you're not watching defenses terrified whether or not those guys can beat you over the top. And I think that's something that's really missing from their offense because no one really gets open.
The traditional set passing game, short, because it does 2 couple things. I think you would get Dart comfortable. You let him hit some high percentage throws. They can get some separation there, as you mentioned, in that 5 to 7 range. Because look, Jordan Watkins is a number 2 receiver, and he's a great number 2 receiver when he can be a number 2 receiver.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's his role.
You can't let him get bracketed and then say, "Hey, go beat it and go do all these different things." To do that, my point is though, what those short passing games that are traditional sets would also do is protect their offensive line. Because their line can't block in traditional sets if they have to hold the football. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's lack of repetition. I don't know what all it is, but their pass blocking is horrid in traditional sets if they take more than about 2.25 seconds to throw the football.
Listen, guys, isn't it fair to start asking some development questions? Jaden.
Well, I mean, it's always difficult to ask development questions with them because, I mean, I don't ever they just bring in transfers. Like, I don't know, like. It feels like their answer to development is just to bring in guys.
It is. It's just okay. Well, we'll just go to the portal and add 20 guys. You have Jaden Williams play as a true freshman last season. He doesn't, or a redshirt freshman. He doesn't play this year. I mean, he basically doesn't play.
No.
So what happened? I mean, what happened? He was one of the ones that bumped Mason Brooks out of the lineup last year. Mason Brooks is on an NFL practice squad right now. So he was good enough to knock out a guy that's getting paid to play in the NFL, but he's not good enough to play now. You've got all these young receivers. You have a need for receivers. Aiden Williams isn't playing. Braylon Brown doesn't play. Buckhalter doesn't play. The slot receiver they signed a year ago, J.J. Henry, doesn't play.
Yeah.
Where are these guys?
So my theory on the
at some point, just real quick, at some point you have to ask the question. So, are you bad at the evaluation process, and then you just go into the portal and hope that it works? Because that's not a good strategy.
So my theory on all this is, I mean, first off, I want it to be clear. Like, I don't disagree with anything you said. This has been, this was a criticism I had even back to Freeze. When you run so many of these offenses that are all RPO and they're all kind of trying to scheme up one-on-ones, it doesn't really lend itself to development. It lends itself to who's got better dudes, because all you're trying to do is scheme up. You're trying to just scheme up somebody and then from a quarterback receiver relationship, really all you're trying to do is get guys that have rhythm together. More times than not, when you look at like the programs that we think of as development programs, they do run more. It's less RPO heavy, and it's more offenses that, okay, if they're running cover 3, we're running the post. But if they run cover 2, we're turning it into a post corner. It's a lot of like stuff off of what they have, and then you get reps and you get better. But the problem is, in these types of offenses, it just lends itself to, I just need the dudes. And I think that's what happens is, if guys don't turn out to be dudes immediately, they just sit there and go, well, we got to go get dudes. And that's, again, I know there will always be pushback because it's an oversimplification, but I do believe that there's truth in that.
Yeah, I think their answer would simply be, you don't understand. You don't understand what we're trying to do. And my answer to that would be, you're right. I don't. I mean, I don't see it. But why, if you're not going to develop and play, well, why sign any of them? Just go 50 dudes in the portal, be Deion Sanders every year and see what happens. I mean, the problem it again, we're being a little, I'm already getting repetitive, and we're not even a half hour into this. This was a hell of an opportunity. That was not a great Alabama team. That Alabama team's not winning the national title. I mean, Nick's won 7 of them, and that's not winning one.
No, the first half note that I wrote was, when did Alabama become Iowa? Because, like, I want to give credit. That defense is legit. I don't want anyone to sit there and misconstrue that I think that defense is national championship caliber defense. But that offense is that is a 9-3 type offense. And you got the key mistake from Milroe in the red zone. You did an awesome job in the red zone in the first half, limiting them to 6 points. But you kept giving them shots. And the more and more shots you gave them, the more and more opportunities you gave them, eventually you felt like they were going to break through. And it's not like they broke through for, 35. I mean, they got it to 24. But that was the other thing. You could kind of sense, I felt like you could kind of sense early, it felt like first to 20. And the fact that Ole Miss never really threatened even to get to 20, that was a concern.
No, even in the second half, it's still on Ole Miss to get into the 20s, as you said, because from Alabama's standpoint, what they did was 2 things. They hit the one long ball, which led to 7 points, really, in 2, I guess. And then beyond that, they dominated the line of scrimmage and allowed them just to grind on it and whole clock and do all these things. I mean, Alabama in the second half, their drives, they only had 4. Do I have this right? Yeah, they only had 4 drives of consequence in the entire half. Field goal, touchdown, punt, once they had a lead. That was it. They just grounded. They dominated the line of scrimmage. They got Ole Miss back on its heels. And Ole Miss kind of panicked a little bit once they got behind, because everybody understood that they just simply couldn't get down the field quickly. And, hey, it's going to take, even with Ole Miss moving as fast as it moves, it's going to take 8 minutes to get down here and score.
You want to go tinfoil hat with me?
Sure.
Did Saban play better chess than Lane?
Today?
Hang with me here.
Go ahead.
I think we all agree that we think Lane did not think that T-Rob was calling the defense because of TV copy. Agreed?
Of course not. Come on.
So if our working theory is they got it from inside the building, what if Saban was playing double agent? Hey, leak it that T-Rob's calling defense, and then honestly, maybe they did stuff with USF that made it look like T-Rob was calling defense. Because to me, the thing that was very interesting early, even the stuff that they had schemed didn't work. And maybe if indeed they really believed that, Tavarius Robinson was calling defense, they showed up today and they were back to Kevin Steele running the defense and doing stuff. It did not look to me like Ole Miss. Like Ole Miss's opening script is usually pretty good. And it looked like to me all the stuff that they had worked on did not work. And it also lends me to believe that they might have prepared incorrectly.
It was for sure the worst script that we've seen from Ole Miss. Now, that second drive was good. They got down there. They got the empty set draw for the touchdown to go up 7, whatever it was, 3, I guess, at the time.
7-3.
But yeah, it did look like Dart seemed confused, or at least did not see what he was expecting on those first 3 possessions as far as what was down the field compared to essentially any Lane Kiffin offense. Because the one thing you can count on is that script's really good to start the game, and even when it doesn't work, it looks like they just didn't execute, but they saw what they were supposed to see. I didn't really think about it until you're mentioning that now, but yeah, Dart looked kind of apprehensive a little early because they simply were not showing what he thought.
I mean, very rarely. I mean, there's been games where Kiffin gets beat. Like, I'm not acting like this guy's sitting here undefeated, but very rarely do I ever watch them play and go, did they know what they were working on? Like, it just, I don't know, nothing. It looked like that their game plan was something that they thought was going to work. And I get it. Everyone game plans. But very rarely do I sit there and go, man, that game plan just didn't make any sense. Like, they have second halves where games get out of hand and whatnot, but like that just early on, I don't know, it looked very odd to me.
Washington State, by the way, leads Oregon State early 7-0 in the game that I'm interested in. Washington State took it right down the field and scored. First time Oregon State's trailed all year.
That's on the first play.
Not the first play, first
drive. It was like the first 3. It was like bang, bang, bang. And
Arkansas.
Then Oregon State hit them with a long run. The kid steps out of bounds and the drive stalled.
Arkansas is inside LSU territory at the 18 early in the first quarter of that game.
What's your very early take on next week?
I think everything is just – I think we kind of have to – I think we have to accept college football is becoming NFL light. And what I mean by that is, other than like when someone gets beat on Monday Night Football and it becomes part of the talking shows, you don't overreact to the wins and the losses quite nearly like we do in college football. I think we have to start realizing college football is going to be a lot more week to week. Other than the game being at home and then today being on the road, I actually thought Ole Miss matched up better with Alabama because I think where Ole Miss's defense is susceptible is I don't think their DBs are very good, and I think you can pick on their DBs. And I thought Alabama would have a tougher time picking on the DBs than LSU does. But I also didn't think Ole Miss was just going to score 10 points today.
No, I mean, if this is the Ole Miss offense, if they can't figure out the running game, and this is what they are, guys, they're really susceptible in a bunch of games this year. Like I watched A&M and Auburn today. I mean, they would be susceptible against both of those teams because both of those games.
Yeah, but A&M, I agree with. Auburn can't score.
They can't score. They're going to have to switch quarterbacks. They're going to have to go with.
But I mean, even him, like it wasn't there. No, here's where I think he's going. Did you see what he did at the end of the fourth quarter?
I didn't. By that time, I'd kind of switched to other stuff.
Well, I had to make sure. He put the freshman in.
Oh, did he?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, look, if it's going to be a rebuild year, that's what you do. You play the kid. Number one, it gives him an excuse, and number two, it gives the kid snaps.
It gives you an excuse, and then also you can find out what you got. I mean, I think you can safely say at this point, you know Robbie Ashford, and you know that Peyton Thorne are not your answer. So I don't know. It was something to monitor. But I will say LSU's back half of the defense is nowhere near Alabama's back half of the defense. Like this is the one year you like normally you think of just you kind of just trust that LSU's going to have DBs. They really don't. They're pretty weak back there. And so Ole Miss might be able to get the passing game going a little bit more. You know, I still don't think its sky is falling. You know, I just think they had a bad game plan. It didn't execute, and as the game got on, they didn't put them away, and you know they got bully balled.
I want to thank some super chatters real quick. Thank you to I'm kind of going through the thread here. Thank you to Pocket Watch. I saw that one. Now, of course, I've lost him. Pocket Watch right there. Thanks to Austin, of course. He says every time we get our hopes up, get disappointed. Thanks to Stephen Blaylock for his super chat. Kyle Wilson checking in on you, Chase. He says are you okay?
I was reading something. No,
Chase
I'm good.
is fine.
Yeah,
He's reading.
I'm good.
Thanks to Stanton. He says prediction for Ole Miss's end of the year record, and then Alabama's end of the year record. We'll get to that one in a second. And then thanks to I lost it there. Bubba McQueen. Thank you for your super chat as well. Ole Miss is in. I don't know, end of the year record. I'm still going 8-4, 7-5. I've not seen anything that changes that.
I mean, I came with Jeffrey, like emotions and matchups, and like we are in a bit of just kind of stupidity from a week to week standpoint, where it's conditioned for overreaction.
My gut says Ole Miss is an 8-4 team, and my gut says that Alabama team's got. Man, doesn't that just feel like a 9-3 team? Like, forget the jerseys, forget
they look 9.
Forget who's on the. That just looks like a 9-3 football team to me.
Yeah, agreed. Arkansas,
like they're not bad. They're a good football team, but they looked much closer to a top 15, 20 team to me than I did like thinking they're one of the 10 best teams I've seen.
Arkansas gets a field goal from Cam Little. It's 3-0 Hogs.
That was a bad.
Yeah,
it's highlight that possession because that was an opportunity. Wasn't it like first and goal from like the 1, the 2, and you leave with 3?
Well, they had it 3rd and goal at the inch line, and they lined up Jefferson under center, and they committed an infraction. Their offensive line is now in the last game and a quarter, 15 penalties. That'll get you beat.
I'm trying to think though, who would give Alabama problems? Well, the other question is how hurt is Wegman for A&M?
The X-rays were negative. Jimbo admitted that he didn't know. So it tells you that it's probably
X-rays are negative always tells me that it's ligament.
Tells you that it's several weeks. The Johnson kid came in and played well.
He's confident.
He did. That was actually kind of cool. Did you see when he threw it to his brother?
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I felt good for their parents.
I thought that was cool.
I gotta see. I mean, look, I think LSU's going to run away from Arkansas here, but
I don't know. This game was weird to me. I think LSU's a good football team. And I think it's entirely possible that we get to the end of the season and we recognize, hey, they had a bad 20 minutes of football in Orlando. And that really was not indicative of what they were.
Yeah.
And they figured it out. I think it's entirely possible. I also think that State made them look like the national title contender that they were billed as. And Arkansas last week worked extremely hard to get beat by. I mean, they dominated that game down to down, and they just turnovers, allowing the big trick explosive plays. Like that allowed BYU to hang in there.
Yeah, tonight's a big moment.
I don't know.
Well, not to necessarily win the game, but Pittman's got to convince people that he hasn't lost, that he can compete there. Because he lost to Liberty last year. Now he's lost to BYU. So the natives are restless. So they'll be super focused.
And then they got A&M next week.
Yeah, they got A&M next week in Arlington. That's a big emotional game for them. That's going to be the challenge for Ole Miss if they can't beat LSU next week. And maybe they can. I mean, who knows? It's going to be in Oxford. They got time to bounce back. It would be a huge win. It would sort of
calm everything.
It would cancel out in some ways the Alabama loss. The problem with the Alabama loss, I know I'm being repetitive, is that you just don't normally catch them that mediocre. You usually look at Alabama at the end of the game.
This felt like
good.
It was on your racket. You get the win, and your toughest games the rest of the way are at your place to go win the West.
Right.
I mean, whether that's realistic or not, it is today.
That is for sure.
If you win it today, you go, well, God, LSU's at home, A&M's at home,
because you don't watch
Auburn sucks.
Yeah, you don't watch any of the other teams. I mean, State might suck. I mean, hell, Arkansas might suck. There's a chance that half the division sucks.
Yeah, that's what they lost.
And now,
by the way,
if you're watching,
there's a chance the league sucks.
Yeah, I'm just getting ready to say. I mean, at the risk of people getting pissed off at me, I don't think they'll get pissed off tonight. There's a real chance that if you're a LSU fan or a Arkansas fan or a Mississippi State fan, you're watching Ole Miss and you go, "There's a chance they suck." There's a chance they don't have any, for all the talk about culture, there's a chance they just don't have any culture.
This felt like, to me, and Chase, see if you agree, this felt like some of the games when Ole Miss would go to Tuscaloosa in the late 90s. Like, you're coming off probation, Alabama, and honestly, Ole Miss had better teams, and they would just find a way to lay an egg no matter what. I mean, I remember one year, like, it might have been like
2000,
where like it's 3-8 Alabama, and Alabama beat them like 45-0.
Tyler Watts. Yep.
No, it wasn't even Tyler Watts. Watts was hurt. It was like Andrew Zhao.
Andrew Zhao came in and won the Heisman.
Yeah.
Wesley, thank you for the
2000 real quick, Jeffrey. This is actually hilarious. Alabama 3-8 in 2000. Ole Miss, pretty good team in 2000. They got beat 45-7 in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Wesley.
Wesley, thank you for the super chat. He says Lane's so cool on Twitter, though. Who cares if he's a no-show against the worst Alabama team in a decade? Listen, that's where we're headed with another loss or two. Is, hey, stop tweeting, start coaching.
Tweeting is only funny when you're winning.
It's cute when you win.
Oh, you can do it's great.
You can do whatever you want.
But you take the middle out. It is awesome or you're an idiot.
Yep.
One or the other.
Yep.
I mean, that's it.
It's people.
I mean, I think it was, and again, it's somewhat, it's body language expert watching. I paid attention to him on the sideline today, and did it feel like, I think he overestimated Alabama, because I also felt like in the first half at times, it felt like he was kind of like, as long as we don't beat ourselves, they're going to beat themselves. And it felt like, and again, like, if your game plan is let's make Jalen Milroe beat us, like, I don't think that's a bad game plan. I think multiple teams are going to do that the rest of the way, and it's going to work. But it just felt like in the first half, he went from 2 years ago down in Tuscaloosa, where I thought he was overly aggressive to his own detriment. Today, I felt like he thought this was going to be a game where maybe like two scores win, 3 scores win. And I just, I don't know. Trying to get inside his mind is.
He thought they could do enough on offense to win a rock fight.
Yeah.
That Milroe couldn't drive, and as long as, and look,
and honestly, for the most part, that worked.
Stuff, but still, I mean,
it took the two times he drove the football, he threw that deep post, which I actually think was supposed to be a corner, and was it Burton who came underneath it and made the great catch? Unbelievable adjustment. It was like
Burton
turned around twice, and then Hale made the great catch on the
Jaden Daniels with a awful throw. Arkansas picks it off and heads the other way.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, trying to act like LSU is just all of a sudden going to be like, I just think going week to week, it's going to be.
I picked them to win the national championship. Let's move off this subject. Let's just talk about the weather. Or something.
Well, I don't want to talk about our Beavers.
Hit a shot play, and Dart had his worst throw of the game downfield because he got impatient because no one was getting open downfield.
Did he get hit?
No, he just telegraphed it, and McLaughlin stepped in front of it.
Well, both guys could have picked it off.
Yeah, and Washington State up 14-0 now.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to talk about my Beavers either.
Yeah, Florida up 10-0 over Charlotte.
What's the line in Corvallis?
Oregon State.
3. Oh, listen, we got lots of time.
Lots of time.
Oh, we're in Pullman. Sorry.
Yeah, it's in Pullman.
Okay.
Oh my God, that DJ throw. Oh my God, that throw from DJ.
Okay, we're a little behind you, so we're about to see it.
Holy hell!
Wow,
that wasn't ideal, was it?
The good news is he threw it so bad it couldn't get picked.
You know, Florida State's a good example of this week-to-week thing, though, because they frankly should have lost to Boston College last week. Boston College gets railed by Louisville today. And then FSU had to absolutely escape Clemson.
FSU
they should have lost.
It was a good game. From an entertainment, if you didn't give a damn who won standpoint, it was a fun game.
But like that's the like to me, like that's the example of what I'm saying. If they blew a protection and Klubnik gets hit and he fumbles, Florida State runs it back. But Clemson was about to go take a 2-score lead, and that game was pretty darn close to over because Florida State really couldn't move the football all the way on Clemson. And instead, you get the game-changing play. Florida State scores. And then that was, I don't know, like that idea of like putting that kick on that kid. I mean, they were playing for a field goal, and you're playing for a field goal from a kid who was moving to New York City to go start a job. Like that to me, like that's coaching malpractice.
Tyler Fitch, thank you for the super chat. He says, have you all been on Twitter? A handful of the Freeze era players are actively mocking Kiffin and the Ole Miss fan base. Very odd. I've not seen that.
That's been something bubbling for a while. I've had a bunch of people text me like, do you know how many times Lane's beaten a team that finished in the top 25? Like there's been a lot of that.
The answer's twice. And one was Troy.
So Indiana counts.
It counts.
I mean, if you're going to cherry pick the stats, it counts. Like I can cherry pick.
Troy last year.
There was another one.
Yeah.
Was it A?
Yes,
there was another one.
They were 11th. When
I think it's
beat on that year.
Yeah. They finished top 25?
I think so.
I think so, too.
Yeah. I mean.
Marine says, what's the call-in number? I've got questions. I'm not sure we're going to do that tonight. That just might not be the smartest idea, honestly.
I mean, I guess the real question for me is, what is the realistic hope? Like Trey Harris, I tip my cap to the young man for gutting it out and trying to play, but like, to me, like the question is, can Ole Miss get healthy?
Well, the question I had was if about a lot of those guys is if you're not healthy enough to play, you don't need to be playing, which gets me back to my other story. The reason they're playing is because none of the young guys that they've signed to develop have developed.
Yeah, I mean, like you and if even if you want to go, well, they're not ready. It's like, well, your job's to get them ready. Like I don't know what else to say. Like figure out. Like there are plenty of coaches that have figured out. Like it used to be, young quarterbacks were not ready to play because most of the time in high school, everybody's playing these simplistic spread offenses. Well, then guess what started happening? Coaches were like, I got to get these guys on the field. So we started simplifying our offense and running what they needed to run so we could get them on the field. Like, I've never really bought that argument of like, well, they're not ready. It's like, well, what options do you have?
Mac Attack says, how much longer does Kiffin get generally softball-style engagement from national media with this type of output? Well, here's the deal.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's an interesting topic, and it's one that
is an interesting.
It's one that
topic.
when local media talks about it, it sounds like sour grapes. So I'm going to put that caveat out there. If they don't win enough to be nationally relevant, they don't stop throwing him softballs. They just stop. They just move on. The national media covers relevance more than anything else.
100%.
And when they move on, and this is where Kiffin's interesting with all the shots, like he took the shot at John Sokoloff on Friday that was kind of a why? When you do that, I mean, nobody in the local media is like, okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna carry the flag. And so you kind of get yourself sort of alienated. And I think that's where look, one loss to Alabama won't do it, but in a scenario where, say, they lost to LSU and then turned around and lost to Arkansas, nobody in the national media is going to care about them anymore.
The flyover articles stop.
They stop. And so then it's just us. And frankly, there go the Beavers.
Yeah, no, it's a good run.
We're fine. We're fine, Jeffrey. We got this.
No, it's the same reason, like, when everyone was freaking out about all the Deion stuff, and I just kept saying, like, guys, it's the perfect September story. He's a wrestling character. You either love him or you hate him, but it doesn't matter. You have an opinion about him. And so you're either sitting there and enjoying watching him get beat, but, like, it's the perfect early story. Last year, remember when we were celebrating Kansas football for the start?
Yep.
But eventually what happens is the season, we start seeing games and we start adding context, and then the narrative of the season starts to play out. And then eventually all the national people just turn their attention to playoff. And as soon as the conversation turns to that, like, that's where you would see the Deion stuff die.
Malik Neighbors is a badass.
Yeah, look, best teams, best whatever, Trump, best stories once you get to November.
Yeah. Correct, because they play the biggest games.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, he runs the risk if he – and look, I think they beat Arkansas.
One game.
I think they beat Arkansas. They'll win one of the next two. It'll probably be okay. But you run the risk of if you don't, the bye week, you sort of disappear. And then you go to Auburn, and the whole Auburn conversation's about freeze and about, hey, what happened with Auburn, and people are kind of like, whatever. And then it's irrelevance after a while.
Well, there's no question. One of the big responsibilities of coaches in this era, where players have largely become mercenaries, is going to be, are you able to keep them motivated and keep them engaged when the season is largely, I mean, none of these kids care about bowl games anymore. Like, so how do you find a way to motivate and, keep a team together? I mean, I think that's a huge part of college football today.
I think it's the question that we're talking about, but you're the first one to mention it in those words. So credit to you there is, look, it's tons of transfers. You're at least some version of what you all came to do ended today. It's to some level.
It's my point
or
about
it's going to end after next week if you don't win.
It's my point about next week.
Hey,
is when you bring in a bunch of dudes who are here for a year and basically a year only, and there's a few that were brought in for more than that, but you bring in a bunch of dudes that were brought in here for a year, and it's, hey, let's go compete for a championship. Okay, well, if you lose to LSU next week, you're not competing for a championship anymore. Now what? And so that's where I come back to the development thing. So if you're not developing young players, and the older guys are like, well, I mean, we're not winning a championship. I need to kind of think about my future. Well, all of a sudden, you're really susceptible to a disaster.
Saban simply just dominated. He said the key to the game was dominating both lines of scrimmage in the second half. He gave
more than fair.
One sentence of a reason for that.
Wesley says, in a game where you needed your defense to be average, they superseded expectations. Then the exact opposite with the offense. Our team can't have an imbalance every game. Yeah. I mean, defense played well enough to win. Statistically, defense played well enough to win.
The defense has played well enough every game.
300.
Relative to what they were supposed to do, they've played well enough every game.
They held Alabama to 356 yards. I hear the baby. You got.
Oh, she's just, Leah said she's supposed to be asleep.
Oh, okay.
Although we can put here.
Oh, we get to see the baby?
Oh,
That's good. We need to see the baby. Put things in perspective a little bit.
can be cathartic tonight.
Yeah. Everybody likes to see a baby. Oh,
So it's the first time she didn't cover. She apologizes.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
She's dressed in it
She
though.
she got no. It's her game day outfit, but she was
So
not.
does she wear the
she was-
same outfit next week too? Now that it's broken.
Aaliyah thinks this was the last week she'll be able to wear it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. We're gonna burn. You're burning that now
You know,
prior to.
why
Oh no! It's just Aaliyah thinks it's not going to fit next week.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. Because I was going to say, hey, wait till you get to the smock dresses. You're going to really go broke. How about that? Well, go enjoy the family. We appreciate your time as always, my
Hey,
man.
real quick, Jeffrey, y'all got that big win last night. Are you a state title contender?
I don't know because Macaulay and Baylor are like Macaulay's entire team. Like they have like 10 guys that all speak French. Like
What?
they went and like got these kids from Canada, and I'm not kidding you. They have one guy that's the fastest high school football player I've ever seen in my entire life. Like he had a kickoff return where our guy that's committed to Stanford had the angle on him, and he just blew right by him so fast that our guy couldn't even like get the courtesy hand on him. We did beat Innsworth for the first time last night. It was like the most chaotic, nuts, awesome football game. Like it's one of those things where it was far from a work of art, but it was just so like quintessential high school football. It was two teams just playing as hard as they could. And because they were playing so hard, they made probably way too many mistakes.
Yeah.
We're as good as we've been in a while. I don't know if it matters because the boarding schools just have like, listen, we can recruit locally. They can recruit internationally now.
Yeah. No, I get it. I just I saw y'all score. Like I said, I saw Houston beat Tupelo. It was just kind of a weird night in Memphis. So I was curious.
Apparently, Dylan said that the response out of Tupelo was they got a Memphis whistle. To which I said we got a Nashville whistle.
Oh,
I don't know. We got a Nashville whistle and still won. I'm just saying, rise above it.
okay, fair enough.
Play like a champion.
Enjoyed it, bud.
Thanks, buddy.
Be good.
He must have got back pretty late last night, though. They were in Nashville playing
Had
the
to
game.
have.
Yeah, so it's not on a ton of sleep.
Nothing
there.
more fun than I-40 at 1 in the morning. We've been there, done that.
Yeah, even the win over Innsworth's not going to help you
No,
on that one.
no.
That's
That high wears off, and then you're like, oh my God, am I ever going to get there?
What are we getting on Monday from Lane? Are we doing tomorrow night too? Are we getting a Sunday?
I would assume.
Okay. Sorry, what are we getting at 5 o'clock tomorrow from Lane?
Got to move on. Got to get ready for LSU. They're super talented.
Do you have his thing?
Lots of 4 or 5 stars. I do. I have Lane.
You want to play it?
Yeah, let me build it.
Okay. That's fine. Neal is getting Lane Kiffin up and going from Tuscaloosa here today. Yeah, I mean, we went through this at the beginning. I mean, it's a very obvious deal. I mean, Dart, 20 of 35, 244, the one pick. He just hit nothing down the field at all. I'll be interested in some Pro Football Focus stuff. We didn't mention it. We just talked about the defense in general, but Steria Perkins has his coming out party again. 2.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks for Perkins. Look, he's going to make some mistakes, but he was dynamic. You just have to.
So a lot of credit to Alabama. Obviously they battled through a lot this week, and a lot of people question them. And they came out and played really physical. Did a great job on defense, especially in secondary. We really struggled on third down, which is a big part of the game. Now we did some good things on defense at times, but the whole thing was to not let this quarterback throw it over our head and make it look it downfield. Going over our head twice for 2 big plays. So really disappointed. Result here to win. And continue that today. Wish we could get that last pass there and get to one score with 3 timeouts and see what would happen there. Disappointing, especially when you don't get these guys again, at least for a year. So, more missed opportunities.
Coach, you just talked about the inability to run the football, how that affected maybe how you want to play this defense.
Yeah, these guys are notoriously hard to run the ball on. So, and some of those things in the first half, the run carries were very low on handoffs. Not totally by design to run RPOs. They
and they really kind of got their running game going in the second half. Was it a scheme change on their end, or do you think fatigue played a factor in this one?
I just think you can only, they've got great players, and you can only keep them down so long, so you can't, just steal scores when you have a chance. They get 3 at the end of the first half, and then we come out in the third quarter, and we take our shot over their head, they take their shot, almost the same play for each play, and get yourself all of a sudden in trouble. So that's why they're beating, unfortunately.
Coach, Emily Grace, reporter for the next round. Who do you think was calling defensive plays for Alabama this afternoon?
I don't know, they did a good job. So I commend them. Maybe coach took over. They did a really good job on third down. It wasn't exotic, played man-to-man, and did a good job against us. Malachi played really well, and we played number 3, tried to go after him like last year, and the guy did a really good job.
Questions?
What was the question?
Coach, what's the difference for you guys between that second quarter defense to that third quarter defense?
I think you gotta make plays on offense. You come in here and you can't just keep putting it on your defense. Eventually, a lot of times you end up breaking. Especially that's a really big offensive line, and our running back and the quarterback needs as good runners. There's the country at that position. So it's really challenging when we put ourselves in that spot. We kind of had them one-dimensional in the first half. We were 1 yard per carry at halftime. And we started right now.
Lane, you mentioned.
You talk about Perkins and came down on defense, young player, stepping up in a big time environment. Who do you think that can do for them going forward?
I thought Perkins made a lot of plays today. I was hoping he would kind of like the LSU guy when we played LSU last year. He hadn't started yet, the freshman, and all of a sudden they played him against us, and the guy looked like the best player in the conference. So we were hoping he could give us that spark. He's one of the few players we have that can catch this guy. So I thought you would see the impact right away. And he made Hennessy trying to spot his quarterback.
Lane, you mentioned third down being a problem. What are you seeing that's causing that? Is there a common thread that you can point to?
Well, we got to coach better, come up with better things. These guys always, for years and years, being good on third down. Like, we don't come up with things and win it man-to-man, and we got good rushers, especially at home. So kind of fed into that. A lot of the third downs were longer situations. And certainly doesn't help this place.
Another big game next week. How do you just get the boy the guys to just reset after this game?
I'm not there yet. This was really discouraging to come in here. Really thought this was our shot to beat these guys. Just thought there were some things that we could do and didn't get it done today. So we'll worry about next week. I guess later today.
Lane, Alabama seemed vulnerable this year. You've been with Saban. What does he do, I guess, to motivate his team in these type of situations?
I didn't like playing them after they played more. He's the best in the world at that. I can think that he would act one way when they don't play. I'm sure he would say, he said they didn't play well last week down in South Florida. He does a great job of getting them back, using what everybody says. All you guys saying the dynasty over and ain't good anymore. He uses that all week, and you guys come out playing really well, especially using our defense.
Coach, it was only one play, but do you think that field goal miss in the first half had any kind of energy shift for you and Alabama?
I mean, I think it did a little bit, but like with a 4-point game, there'd be some momentum. I don't think that was really big. I felt our locker room was good at halftime. Like to be in this type of game, 1-point game. And I really think the shift, really there was 2 plays there. We moved the ball, passed midfield. We said we're going to play aggressive. We said we're going to, I've been in this place and lost 12 to 10 field goals. I said I wasn't going to do that again. So we took a shot, and the guy made a really good play. And they basically on the next series took a shot exactly the same over our safety's head. So I think that's really where it turned. And I still think we're in a game. I mean, Beckson played his heart out, but the first 2 plays were wide open. We touched on there with all the timeouts. We got really interested.
Coach, was there anything that Alabama did specifically today that surprised you or maybe caught you guys off guard?
Not really. I mean, I say this every year. They're bigger than I remember them every
You touched on it there a little bit. How big is the athleticism delta between them and your guys?
We got to coach better on the plays. We tried some things today. Been watching, there's some things in there that kind of unusual plays and kind of they're all out there. So this was a shocker. Take these guys down.
We've talked about some of those slower first half starts and then kind of turning it on in the second half. Just what kind of confidence do you have going into halftime, 7-6, kind of in that position?
Not a lot. We've been a really good second half team, 123, I think, this year. Obviously, different quality opponent today, but so I felt good about that. I think the play counts got out balanced because we weren't winning on third down. So that kind of got us off balance there.
We're going to do one more. Anything else? All right. Thanks, Coach Webb. Jackson and...
That was Lane Kiffin. I know audio was whatever. I'll do my best with that for the podcast from an editing standpoint. The mics never really get picked up in there, and it's always a weird environment.
He's not the loudest guy either.
Yeah, he's whispering. There's a lot of stuff that's at play in those things. So apologies for that, but that was Lane Kiffin. As I said, up in podcast form as fast as possible, and all podcasts on MPW Digital, brought to you by Twisted Tea. Are you ready to elevate your college football game day experience? Check out Twisted Tea, your go-to game day beverage for college football fans. Twisted Tea is unlike any hard beverage you've had before. It's made with real brewed tea and packs a flavorful punch, 5% alcohol, no carbonation, delivering the perfect balance of taste and refreshment that goes down smooth for every game day occasion. No need to settle for the usual. Twisted Tea turns up any occasion, especially when cheering for your favorite team, whether you're tailgating in the stadium, parking lot, watching at a bar, or hosting friends at home. Twisted Tea is there to elevate your experiences, complements your love for college football, and your passion for creating unforgettable moments. So let's toast to unforgettable game day experiences. Twisted Tea, the drink that fuels fun and celebrates your love for college football. Keep it twisted. Arkansas still hanging in with LSU early in the second quarter. Hogs up 3-0 with the ball there in Baton Rouge.
I think they're inside the LSU 30-ish, 25, 30-ish after that run right there. Oregon State within 14-7. I saw South Carolina's up 7-0. I'll pull up some scores. Don't need the Ole Miss stats broadcast any longer. I can change that window, I think. Oregon
Utah knocked off UCLA 14-7, by the way.
Yeah, Oregon beats Colorado 42-6.
It was 35-0 at halftime. Dion, to his credit, after the game, called it a old-fashioned butt kicking.
That's fair.
It's fair.
Around the SEC right now, as we mentioned, Arkansas leads LSU 3-0. Florida leads Charlotte 13-0. Georgia leads UAB 7-0. Missouri leads Memphis 7-0. South Carolina leads Mississippi State 7-0. You know the Ole Miss Alabama score. Tennessee beat UTSA 45-14.
That's a cover for the Vols.
Texas A&M defeated Auburn 27-10. That's a cover for the Aggies. And Kentucky beat Vanderbilt 45-28, which is a cover for the Wildcats.
Did they cover?
Yeah, that line was 13.5, 14, somewhere in there. So thank you to Mr. Stoops and the fine people in Lexington. Because I was going to get really pissed if Vanderbilt covered the damn line after just saying, "Hey, I'm done."
They have quit.
They're done.
It's September.
2-10, 0-8.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's where it's headed. They are playing in that construction side of a stadium up there while they're doing the renovations. And look, the renovations look pretty good, but the visiting interview room at Vanderbilt was in a construction site. So while they were doing the interviews, people with hard hats and construction were just walking through the room and doing their construction work on this Saturday afternoon.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, it's unbelievable.
I saw Kentucky media talking about it, going,
yeah, come on,
little strange here. Yeah, a little bit. So
come on. Washington State scores again. They're up 21-7 now over.
They're rolling a little bit over there.
Beloved Beavers.
The Packs.
You know, I adopt a team and they lose. It's just the way it works.
Is it something about the orange and black? You keep grabbing orange and black teams.
Like who?
Like the Bengals.
Oh yeah,
and Oregon State.
That's true. And then Burrow gets hurt. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, even the Bears have dark color gray. I mean, orange. You're
only Carson's sticking with the Bears. I'm done.
He's still trying to do that?
He's trying.
I mean, what the?
That's a hell of a throw.
I guess
there.
you know what Carson, and he's catching strays right here, and I apologize. Is he probably needs to do that a little bit because he did adopt Chelsea out of nowhere. So like, let's grab somebody who's not
But
the
now
Yankees.
he did that as like a 10-year-old.
Just
so
saying.
he deserves a break there. That's a hell of a throw right there from Jefferson. That's big time. I'm not sure if his foot's in. Yeah, it's in. That's a catch.
It's late May. Who are you pulling for? Oh, the Lakers and the Blackhawks. Okay, good. Awesome.
The Yankees.
Yeah, right.
LeBron. Gretzky.
Yeah. It's still going to be a crazy environment on Saturday.
It is.
Again, it's one game. They're back at home.
Well, and look, Jeffrey makes a great point. This might just be today's college football.
Oh, I think it is week to week.
Where you just don't know what the hell anybody is other than the cream of the crop.
And even them.
I mean, a week ago, Arkansas loses to BYU, and now they're
trying to be 2 scores up on LSU in Baton Rouge. That was not a good play call.
That was not a good play call. That was very similar to that was very similar to the 2-point conversion play call.
It was. That 2-point conversion, that had nothing to do with him trying to
look at my Beavers. Let's go.
Well, they better get going. They're down 2 scores. Saban was kind of in the analytics book on that because what it allowed him to do was get up that second score where you're not lingering where if Ole Miss scores twice, they win the game. It's only a tie. It mattered to go to 10 right there.
Yeah.
Like, you already had 8. So
Yeah.
you've already got the 2-point conversion thing.
The difference between 8 and 9 is
it's big, but 10 is
bigger
kind
to
of
get to 10.
Yeah. There was I just thought that was a smart analytical play more than anything else. Oh, yeah, good. So
it's going to be another opportunity for Caroline's friend Cam, the kicker.
Is he going to try to kick the field goal here?
I would assume they'll bring out Cam Little to kick the field goal. And yes, I do cheer for Cam, the kicker. So
you cheer for all kickers.
Get your shot in now, but I know this kicker, and my daughter knows this kicker, and they're friends, and so I do cheer for the kicker because
you cheer for all kickers.
I do cheer for kickers. I feel bad when kickers miss kicks because I think about their parents.
That ball did not come off Caden Davis's foot right at the end of the first half. That was kind of a shank. It was
a
low,
knuckleball.
and that was not struck correctly.
Good job, Cam.
He did kick it in 6-0 Razorbacks.
Just happy for Cam. Caroline says he's very nice. They made an A on the project that they worked on together.
Tough life as a kicker because it goes well until it doesn't. And then,
goes well until it doesn't. And when you miss the kick against Texas A&M that cost you the game, and the professor's
kind of a problem.
The professor's making fun of you in the class
really?
on Monday. Oh yeah,
he got that.
Oh yeah, and the professor didn't know that the kid was in the class.
Hold on a minute. He didn't know the kid in the class.
He didn't. He was one of those big classes,
the lecture classes,
and he didn't know that the kicker was in the class. And he's talking about the kicker missing the kick.
Oh, good God!
And everybody in the class is like, "Hey, stop!" And so finally, someone said, "He's in the class. Stop." And so he said, "I've heard a lot worse." He goes, "This isn't that bad. Trust me, I've seen a lot worse in the last 48 hours." And that's when you feel bad for the kid. Come on.
The mentions going into oblivion or Bolivia.
No, she's not dating. She's not dating the kicker. They're just friends.
That's a terrible story, though.
Yeah.
You think you're safe in the econ class or whatever. And here you go.
Yeah. He's been willing to come on the podcast, but I've said probably not the best idea. Probably wouldn't go over very well.
2 weeks from now sounds good. We'll preview it on Tuesday.
Sure. And then he makes the 48-yarder to win, and then and I'm done as a business person. No. I mean, no, it's just not good.
There won't be any screenshots of you and the kicker on the Zoom the next
Nobody would use that against us. No. That wouldn't go bad. No chance.
What do you guys, I mean, what is the, I mean, I know the mood, but are you still watching football? Or have you poured alcohol? Are we doing beer? Are we doing liquor? Like, what is kind of the post-mortem after that game for everybody in the stream? What's the deal? Because like I said, I give all you guys credit, and I appreciate you, and I love you, and every single one of you, and I wish there was 10 times as many of you. When the Saints lose, I get away from media, period. I don't want to see it or rehash it or like I'm out. Turn it on like a movie or something. I mean, it's.
All right, so here's the thing. We open the phone lines and they get goofy. Y'all have to understand about the phone lines. We get 80% of the people bitch about the phone lines. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's fair.
About 80, maybe more than that. There's a handful that like them. I'm gonna leave it up to Chase. Because if I do it, I know Jason's kidding. I know.
By the way, Marshall beat Tech today.
Georgia Tech?
No, Virginia Tech.
Oh.
So James Madison definitely the best team in Virginia at this point.
Oh, for sure.
That's 2 wins for Huff at Marshall now. We beat Notre Dame last year and now beat Virginia Tech this year. Oregon State doesn't. You know what?
Huff is a secret, sneaky candidate for the Michigan State job.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oregon State.
Not a secret, I shouldn't say. He's a sneaky candidate.
As much as I respect their program, because I think Oregon State is an incredibly undervalued program in the country, their uniforms make me think they should go to the Mountain West.
They do have Mountain West uniforms.
Those are bad uniforms. Those are Mountain West suits.
The black pants. Like, what do you think about Arkansas's red pants tonight?
Is that what they're doing? I didn't even notice.
They're red on red. I do like this. If you're going to do it, put a stripe on them.
See, I actually think the stripe hurts them because it's monochrome. I think you're better off. Just being monochromatic at that point
and just going solid red pants.
Yeah, I actually for some reason think
you could put the little hog on the hip or something.
Yeah, I think the white stripe actually oddly hurts theirs, whereas it would definitely help Ole Miss's white on white.
I will tell you this as we get ready to start talking about LSU for a week. Their offense looks really out of sync right now. Now, Arkansas's defense is a little better than it's getting credit for because of what happened against BYU last week. They held BYU to under 300 yards. But LSU looks really out of sync offensively through this play. 6 minutes and 22 seconds to go in the first half. A lot of time left, obviously, and I think LSU is going to pull away. But
it's my deal with Daniels is it's not. He's good. He's very good. He can be elite. He can be explosive. He doesn't feel like a consistent title-winning quarterback.
I mean,
he feels a step below the ability to just do it and do it and do it and go win a title. That was a hell of a throw. But
that was a hell of a throw.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what this call is. I wonder if is it defense or offense?
Yeah, damn, noticing you're not putting Iowa on a television.
I need to. They're going to play LSU next week, so I'm putting it there.
No, we can't move that.
And then I've got Oregon State. I need to move Oregon State on.
I mean, has Oregon State eclipsed Iowa?
I mean,
are you falling out because they don't score points?
I mean, they're kind of boring. We'll turn to Iowa for a minute. We ought to turn to Mississippi.
We're not turning to Memphis and Missouri. That is for sure.
No, we could turn to Mississippi State.
Whatever.
Notre Dame. There's a lot of good games on. Let's see what Iowa's doing.
Okay.
Let's see what the Hawkeyes
They're not
are doing.
scoring points. That's what they're doing.
For sure.
0-0.
That's my boys.
That's right.
Now, why are we wearing black pants?
Yeah, I know. Everybody's talking about that. Yeah, they're not wearing yellow pants.
All right, so there's LSU breaking out.
What was that penalty? Was it on? And that's a horse collar.
Oh, yes, for sure, a horse collar. It was defensive pass interference.
Oh. Yeah, so it's black pant, way too big yellow stripe.
Yeah,
whoa.
Come on. What are you doing? No wonder you're going to lose. You can't wear uniforms like that and win the game.
Your teams are in bad suits tonight.
I don't know what the deal is.
They're in really bad suits tonight.
What are we doing? Oh, that was
the whiteout at Penn State looks damn good, though.
It does.
It looks awesome.
That's a huge stadium.
I mean, that looks really good. Beaver Stadium, right? Isn't that correct?
I think it is Beaver Stadium.
Yeah. Yeah, Penn State wins the uniform.
Penn State's uniforms are good. I mean, you're traditional and you just stick with it, and it's solid.
Yeah, Iowa, the stripe is way too big because when you first look, you're not sure if they have white pants on with some sort of weird black stripe. I mean, yellow pant with with Blackstripe. It's bad. Tulane up on Nichols 24-0 with 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. That's Richard Cross's game this week. It's the Colonels and the Green Wave.
As someone just said about Ole Miss, said the thing is that this was Ole Miss's best chance to win the West.
Well, because it's the last chance to win the West. So,
best chance in a long time. I don't know if that's true or not.
Because everyone's flawed.
Can Kiffin rally this team? That's Clay.
That is the
question.
That
is the question.
I mean, look, yeah, we can ramble on and on and on, but that is 100% the question.
No doubt.
And we don't know yet.
I don't know.
Because you look through this thing, and
real quick. He didn't rally last year's team.
And this is worth, I want to make exactly sure. So let's do it real quick.
Missouri up 7-3. South Carolina up 7-0.
I'm not counting 2020 because there was never any expectation at all.
And that was such a weird year.
I'm not even putting that into the, he did a good job in 2020. Fine, whatever.
Just give him an A and move on. Yeah.
They go 10-2 in the regular season. And to their credit, but again, okay, so I think he's 1-1 because I think you have an answer that's a yes and an answer that's a no. There's no doubt last year they did not rally. They got bad. They had off the field stuff with Kiffin, whatever. Whatever you want to say, they did not play good football after losing to Alabama.
Yes.
They lost a close game to Alabama. We'll see if that matters. Don't know. Popcorn game, 21. They get beat 42-21.
Mm-hmm.
Much like this year, they had opened with 3 non-conference games in 21. They beat Louisville up. They beat Austin Peay. And they beat Tulane up. They played Alabama. They got beat 42-21. And they ran through the next 3 games, winning them. They the next 3 games after losing to Alabama in 21 was playing number 13 Arkansas and winning 52-51. Winning in Knoxville, the golf ball game, 31-26, and then beating LSU up pretty good, 31-17 in Oxford. Now, the Auburn game was after that, and Corral got hurt, and it got weird, and they lost 31-20. But he did win 3 impressive games right after Alabama in 2021. Here's the key, though. So 1-1. As much as we talk about 22, we got to give him 21. Gets credit for that. No problems.
Okay.
That team had Matt Corral and Sam Williams on it. Veterans, leaders, invested dudes.
That's the word. That's the word. Matt Corral had been at Ole Miss a long time. Matt Corral had been through hell at Ole Miss. Sam Williams had been at Ole Miss a long time. Ole Miss had stuck with Sam Williams when a lot of people wouldn't have stuck with him. They were invested. They'd been in Oxford a long time.
They regrouped.
I mean,
they carried it.
Outside of offensive line and Cedric Johnson, who's been at Ole Miss a long time?
That's it.
Ashanti Sistrunk.
Yeah.
A handful of dudes.
Sure.
I'm not saying that none of the transfers are going to play hard, but he's got to get guys to
there isn't
bounce
that
back.
It's a big week for Dart. It's your team. Your coach did all this stuff. Your team. It's a big week.
And Jackson can't keep getting hit like that, by the way.
Yep. Yeah. He tough as nails, but whew.
Now, he did get down.
He
in
started
the second
sliding
half.
late.
I mean,
he lost his helmet twice.
I mean, one hit he took. God, it's a wonder he didn't knock his teeth out.
Got the face mask early, wasn't called. I mean, he had some very difficult hits there. They drop a pass.
Yeah, they're worried about that Iowa defense, man.
Line up for a field goal. That might be enough.
Look at you. You know, that's such a cheap shot.
Alex
right
Felkins lining up 4 for 5 on the season. Had a 52-yarder blocked last week.
Such a cheap shot.
I don't know who they played last week.
I don't know. Penn State?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, I do, because I won. I bet on them. They played at Illinois.
They covered?
Yeah. This is 46.5-yarder. Is that Manny Diaz on the Penn State staff?
I don't know. Is that where he's at?
It looked like him crouching down just then.
Snap, the hold, and the kick is snuck in the left upright. That's good.
Damn it.
3-0 Nittany Lions.
That's a massive deficit now.
It is.
What a mountain to climb. LSU scored, by the way, 6-3 in that game late in the first half in Baton Rouge.
You gotta get your TV ready for the Solheim Cup singles tomorrow, Neal.
My plan, Chase, is to get up in the morning and get my run in, and then turn on Tottenham Arsenal at 9 a.m. and try to see how much of 10 thoughts I can get done.
Do you even know what the Solheim Cup is?
I think it feels like a golf tournament.
It does.
Okay. It's like the warm up to the Ryder Cup.
It is the women's version of the Ryder Cup.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Look at me. That's a victory.
And it's tied 8-8 going into singles tomorrow.
Oh, damn. How about that? That's pretty dramatic.
I mean, got popcorn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Early in the morning, they're over there somewhere. Oh, yeah. 100%.
So what's your guess? What's the week look like for Ole Miss? What's Lane like this
I think
week?
he's going to try to level it. I think he's going to try to be very stable this week.
Mm-hmm.
Reserved to an extent. He's going to give Alabama a lot of credit. He's going to talk about what they didn't do well. He's going to speak to his team about improvements they have to make this week. I think that's the plan. I think the plan will be to just simply be straightforward about what is possible, what you need to clean it up. Because, look, it was on you. Made too many mistakes. Game was winnable. It wasn't one of these weeks where Alabama popped you and went, my God, they're just this elephant up here the weekend. No. You did it. So you've got to confront that tomorrow. And then you got to, as he always talks about, and then he does really well normally outside of the Alabama game last year, is throw it in the trash. Be done. Move on. Get on with it because LSU's waiting right here, and LSU's giving you film that shows you it's not amazing over here. What?
Gary Wunderlich's tweet, Castles are crumbling. Great loss, coach. Maybe we'll only lose by one position next week at Lane Kiffin. That's odd. He did him no favors. He did himself no favors with the tweet. The tweet on Monday morning.
Well, it's the fan frustration too.
It takes a lot to shock me. You've known me a long time,
yeah.
right? I don't get shocked very often. I'd gone for my run. I'd strapped up the dogs, taken the dogs for a walk. I grabbed my readers, and I'm kind of perusing through Twitter a little bit as I'm walking the dogs, and I come across that tweet, and I literally stopped.
Did you?
I did. And looked at it and went, why? Because I'm an advocate for Bama Respect Week. Publicly, now privately you say something different, but publicly just do Bama Respect Week. They're awesome. It's going to be really hard. They're the best. They've dominated.
What he also does, go, blah, blah, blah. Toughest place in the world to play, best player, blah, 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 blah.
But when you tweet Castles crumbling, all the Bama Respect Week in the world doesn't cancel that out. It's like the weighted scale thing.
No, you've been shooting a BB gun, and suddenly in the other direction, you took a bazooka, and you went, I did 8 shots of that. Well, no.
I mean, you took like the big F-39 that got missing in South Carolina, and you're like, hey, we're going to fire that bitch and see what happens. Why? I mean, I looked at it and went, but why? And it's my question, but why? And his answer would be, well, I was just being funny or whatever. But that's you wrote a check that you couldn't cash.
Well, I mean, you messed with Kevin Steele all week, and Kevin Steele got you today.
And look, no one's going to get mad at me when I say this. I know people connected to Kevin Steele. I got a text from someone just literally as the game ended. I'll read it to you.
Oh, okay.
And no, I can't say who it's from. It's someone kind of in the coaching fraternity. Quote, ran that mouth and got his ass spanked. 10 points. Steele shut his ass down. If he had moles, they didn't help his ass. Why stir it up? It's a fair question. Why stir it up? Was that the reason they lost? Kiffin's tweet, by the way, 24 minutes ago. Sorry to let you guys down. We blew that one, came to win, and didn't get it done. Put it on me, not our players. At Ole Miss football, also give credit. Alabama football played really hard. Something EXP of defense. I see means especially defense. I will miss this matchup. It's a picture of Knox on the sideline.
It's a good start.
It's a good start.
It's a good start. Like I said, I think it's very level this week.
I mean, the good news for Ole Miss is you don't play them next year. If you do play them next year, it's going to be either in the SEC championship or in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it would mean you had a great year. It's a
mental game for Ole Miss.
It's a game Lane doesn't need to play.
He can't get it.
He literally.
Well, look, it was early on, and it's basically the only thing I even tweeted about today. Is Ole Miss had all the momentum in the world. They seemed to be controlling it. They had the lead. They got the ball back after an Alabama screw up. And he did that weird formation thing and got off schedule.
Yes.
And they were 5 yards behind, and it went, just play. You're better right now.
It was an illegal shift.
Yeah,
and it looked,
just play.
It looked weird. And it was like, why? What are you doing?
Just play.
Yeah.
It was the version of Freeze throwing the Laquan reverse. And it's like, no, stop. Just play.
Just play the game. It was, let's put Robert at fullback.
Yeah.
Because why not? Well, because he shouldn't. That's why not.
Because he got a concussion.
Because it's not what he plays. Just do your thing. You had just driven down the field. You just scored. You looked good doing it.
You have the lead in the ball. Don't do something that gets us off schedule on first down. Yes, 100%. I thought even then I went, no, see, same thing. Just, It's not there. Yes.
Well, boy, the people that thought LSU was just going to roll over Arkansas, hand raise. We were wrong.
6-3 Razorbacks,
Yeah,
2:17 to go first half.
KJ's very composed tonight, and Arkansas is kind of doing what it does well offensively. Now, the flip side is they've left points on the board.
But
they could have 14 right now.
They're kind of comfortable being kind of like their mascot a little bit, dirtying it up and making it ugly. And
Rocket Sanders did not make the trip. What I read today is that he's getting closer, and they think he could probably play next week at Texas A&M.
Okay. Arlington, NA, I guess they know.
Yeah, in Arlington.
Yeah,
I guess that technically it's a home game for Arkansas.
Is it?
I think so, because they only have 3 conference home games in Fayetteville. No, he's kind of doing his thing. He's quietly had a hell of a career there. He's never had a lot around him, but he's had a hell of a career there.
I don't blame Dan Lanning today because he's not going to face Colorado again. They're going it's what difference does it make? Beat him up, got his players, whatever. Talked to his recruits, talked to whatever. I got no problem with what Lanning did today.
I feel like there's a butt coming.
No. Just people talking about it. I mean, a lot of people going,
No, it's his job to win games.
Yeah, no.
Great quote. They're here for clicks. We're here for wins. This game's not played in Hollywood. This game's played on the grass. I mean, Deion's talked a lot.
And he gave all the credit in the world and was fine
that?
after the game. He did catch it, yes. Might be 13-3 here.
Is it offensive pass interference?
I don't know. Oh, they're saying incomplete. I thought he called it.
I couldn't tell.
Okay.
Bad pod, I know, but
it's fine. Whatever.
At this point,
it's the way those work.
Oh, did South Alabama lose?
To who?
They played Central Michigan.
Oh, really? Is Michael Wayne still there?
Yes.
Okay. Not a bad program.
No, not bad at all.
Yeah. Has it? Yeah.
I couldn't tell there. Let's see. Definitely interference. Ball is.
I think that's a catch. I think that's a catch.
I think that's a touchdown.
We're watching Arkansas number 17. I don't know who it is. Catching a ball into the end zone, it appears.
Broden is his name. He's got a foot down, got a knee down.
And I think he rolls over with the ball
and
intact.
The ball is still in his hand. That's a touchdown.
Yeah, I think so too.
Definitely has foot in. Definitely has knee in. So it's a matter of, was the ball still moving when he turned?
But it can be moving as long as you have control of it.
Foot is in, knee is in.
I think I would rule that a catch.
I think I would too. Definitely interference. Foot, knee.
And then continuation, but you have it.
I think that's a touchdown. He takes his other hand and touches it. And maybe
I think that's okay.
Maybe that's going to let it.
By rule, that should be fine.
Austin, thank you for the super chat. He says, thank you for giving us a place to hang out after that disappointment. Much love to you guys. Thanks for covering the school. We appreciate you guys being here more than you know. So we appreciative to all of you. I hope we expressed that enough times because we do. Chase had a really good tweet this morning that expressed that, and I completely agree. Arkansas thinks it's a touchdown because they're going to go for 2. They're already calling for the 2-point play.
Yeah, I would. That's what I would call.
Here we go.
Touchdown.
Yep.
13. So 12 or 14-3 here in a second.
48 seconds to go in the first. Penn State trying to trick play. Doesn't work against my boys. No, sir. Nope. That Hawkeyes defense, baby.
That's not how you win.
Well, boy, while we have a minute, because we'll stop probably when these games go to the half, or this game goes to the half. What would an Arkansas win over LSU do to next week's game here? For the record, I think LSU will come back and win the game, but let's just play it out.
It should give Ole Miss every bit of oxygen imaginable, because then you're going, hey, guys, just keep winning and see if Bama will help us out because they are gettable, and see if somebody else gets them. Get LSU.
Yeah.
So you got them out of the way.
Yeah.
In theory. Now you got a big group of Bulldogs down the road, but that's not today's problem.
No, it's for down the road. You try to recover 1 week at a time.
Yeah. And it's, hey, we got 2 home games in a row. LSU just lost to them last week, so beat both of them, and you're there. Hey, A&M's got some quarterback issues. You start talking yourself into it. No, it's huge for Ole Miss because it's also deflating for LSU. LSU loses tonight, their national title hopes are done.
Oh, for sure, they're done. Yeah, no.
It's September and it's over.
His challenge in Baton Rouge is getting his guys to come back and play because you're
now
not
got to go to Oxford.
Yeah, I mean you can still play for the SEC title, but you're not going to the national championship with 2 losses. Not in this environment.
And you're not winning the West when you lose to Arkansas. You're just not. Somebody else getting you to.
Absolutely. An Arkansas team that just lost.
So no. Lane Kiffin should be begging for an Arkansas win right now. It would breathe life back into this thing.
I would think so.
Probably helps the Ole Miss fan base a little bit too. Hey, it's cool.
And it gives Arkansas a ton of confidence going into Texas A&M next week and makes that game
muddies
monster.
That up.
Makes that game a monster game.
Yeah, muddies that up. So 10 points, 48 seconds to go.
They just kicked it, by the way. They did not go for 2. They were calling to go for 2.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. You had 9, go to 10. 10 and 11, that makes no sense.
Yeah. Sometimes you try to stay on track and get 14, so you go, hey, we have 2 touchdowns. But screw it, just get the point.
Tomorrow, I don't know what the TV markets are. Saints, Packers tomorrow. Chargers, Vikings tomorrow. Colts, Ravens tomorrow. Titans, Browns. Falcons, Lions. Texans, Jags. Broncos, Dolphins. Pats, Jets.
Is that the Metcalf kid that Ole Miss recruited for a while? Is that for
TJ?
Arkansas? I think
that is.
Is that Terrence's nephew?
I think that's right,
okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Bills, Commanders.
DK's cousin.
Correct, yes. Panthers, Seahawks, Cowboys, Cardinals, and then your national games, Pittsburgh against the Raiders. And then dual Monday night games this week. You got Eagles at Bucks and Rams at Bengals. And that's Rams at Bengals with no Burrow?
It sounds like no Burrow.
Okay. LSU calling a timeout with 38 seconds to go, and they just got into Arkansas territory.
Yeah, they've got all 3 timeouts. LSU's going to win this game. LSU's going to win the game. KJ's playing really well, though.
Kansas beat BYU today. The Jayhawks 4-0.
Yeah. First time in forever.
First time back-to-back since 1915.
Game day will be in Lawrence, by the way.
Is it Lawrence? I thought that game was in Austin. Isn't it Texas?
I don't know why I thought.
Isn't it Texas, Kansas in Texas?
You might be right. For some reason, I heard it was Lawrence, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, September 30th, 2:30, Kansas at Texas.
Oh, so it's going to be in Austin if Texas wins.
Who are they playing?
Baylor tonight.
They'll win.
Iowa just fumbles, or they didn't fumble the punt, but the punt hit someone's back.
Is there an update on the Texas Tech quarterback, the kid that was good against Ole Miss last year? He had to have his leg mobilized today during their game.
Oh, no.
And I haven't seen any update on him. They got beat by West Virginia.
Oh. That's no good. Let's see. Caroline's picks and Greg's picks. Let's see. Caroline had Texas A&M. Greg had Auburn. Yeah, touchdown to LSU. They're just so explosive, man.
So 13-10 at the half now.
Caroline and Greg both had Kentucky. Caroline had Colorado. Greg had Oregon. They both had Utah. They got that right. Caroline had Alabama. Greg had Ole Miss. They both had Tennessee. Caroline has LSU in the Arkansas game. Greg has Arkansas. Caroline has Washington State. I don't know. So she's doing pretty good. She's having a pretty good week.
I know it's back-to-back weeks for game day or big noon kickoff. There are two now. I know Kansas is an awesome story. That's not where I would go. I would go to Durham if Notre Dame wins tonight.
Yeah, I think I would too. Go to Duke.
Duke's 4-0. They beat UConn 41-7. They're going to be ranked like 16th in the country tomorrow.
Haven't done that in forever.
I'd go to Durham.
Yeah.
Lost fumble at the Penn State 18 and muff punt by return covered by Penn. That's not how you win games if you're the Hawkeyes.
No, it's not how we do it.
You don't give away possessions in the red zone.
What LSU just did is what makes them so dangerous, though, is their ability to deep strike you, to
busted coverage,
bust
got
a
lost in the
play.
zone.
Yep. That's what they do well. They're so athletic offensively that they can struggle and struggle and struggle and then hit you.
That's what Ole Miss couldn't do today. They couldn't get down the field.
Bingo.
It's 100%. It's what they just.
And so you watch a game where Arkansas is having to drive and LSU goes boom.
I am so
boom.
sick of these 40-point lines with Georgia because they can't freaking score. It is 7-7 with 10 minutes to go in the second quarter against UAB.
And they'll eventually run away with it.
Sure.
But they've got issues offensively. Yes, Caroline picked LSU. Caroline is a lot like her dad. She will put winning ahead of loyalty.
Ole Miss had scored 20-plus points in 39 straight games, regular season games, prior to today. So large streak broken there.
If you're Arkansas, you take a knee here and head into the half up 3.
You have the lead.
You got to be happy with up 3.
Well, yeah, they're not explosive enough to do anything else with it. So.
No, they're a lot like Ole Miss in that they've got a handful of good receivers, but there's nobody that really can take the top off.
Whatever Ole Miss had paid a bunch of people, they should have just paid all that to Keon Coleman.
Yeah. Maybe the $500,000.
Whatever it took. Just, yes. Yeah, I know where
The
you're
Spencer Sanders money would have been better off with Keon.
Memphis
Tillman.
10, Missouri 7 in the second quarter.
Is Cook playing?
I don't know.
I don't either.
South Carolina 14-13 over the Bulldogs early in the second quarter.
KJ Jefferson just ran over Major Burns.
Did he?
Yeah.
And that will be the end.
That's the end. They're going to hit, I guess. Are they calling a timeout? Why?
Who? Arkansas calling a timeout.
Yeah, he does some weird stuff.
That's asking for trouble.
He does some weird stuff.
I don't even mind the guy. I know we make fun of him all the time. It's the dumb clock management for Drinkwitz that has me like pulling for Memphis tonight. I'm like, you should have lost last week. I'm annoyed with you.
Now,
so
to his credit, he admitted that it was boneheaded and that his players bailed him out.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, at least he did say it out loud.
They blow games at the. If they only had to play 55 minutes, he'd be a hell of a coach.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, nothing was worse than that touchdown Auburn Jesus thing last year with the just dropping the ball. But
Kid just dropped it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Because the hand from God came down and grabbed it.
Cook is playing, according to Matt Browning.
Okay. It's on ESPNU, but
yeah.
Your Bulldogs from Ruston did okay in Lincoln today, losing 28-14 to the Cornhuskers.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think they made $1.55 million.
As I get older, I have less and less attachment to Louisiana Tech. Gotta wonder what in the world they're doing.
Because they're going to get a Hail Mary here with 5 seconds to go.
I mean, I guess. I'm worried that
sounds like a way to get somebody hurt.
That's what I was going to say. If I were them, I'd be worried that I was about to get my quarterback hurt.
Because he's just running around playing backyard football at that point.
Well, and he's just so big that sometimes he sets himself up to get really hit.
He's had a hell of a career.
He has. He's had a really good career. He was a kid that came to Ole Miss a lot for camps, talked to him a lot. Longo wanted to put him at tight end.
Yeah.
He insisted he was a quarterback, and I think he's proven he was right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. He's not great, but
See,
There you go. So you get your quarterback hit.
And he almost fumbled.
Well, he did fumble, but he landed on top of it.
Yeah. Just stop.
Yeah, it's just dumb. Don't be an idiot. Pittman does some weird stuff.
And LSU gets it after the break.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did Arkansas get it first?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that could have easily been a scoop and score.
So 13-10. Razorbacks over the Tigers at halftime, and then the Nittany Lions 3-0 on Iowa with 11:54 to go, second quarter. Barn burner there in Happy Valley tonight.
Penn State driving to put it away here in the second.
Ryan Feren's currently 11 points over his season average to what is needed.
Yeah.
The drive for 350 or whatever it is.
I will say this as we wrap up.
325.
It's one game.
Yeah.
But the lesson from tonight might be what you just said a minute ago, which is if you're going to be portal dependent, you're going to have to be more efficient with how you spend your money.
Yeah.
Spencer Sanders isn't playing.
Whatever those six figures are, they are not helping. He threw one pass today because the helmet came off.
It was 1 for 1. So very efficient, but one pass. That's a lot of money that could have gone to other things.
A wide out, a linebacker, defensive end, whatever. And again, I'm setting up the week. And it's nothing against him. I thought he ran really hard today. I thought, given his opportunities, he had a good game. But the NFL has shown you, should a running back be the most expensive player on your team?
No. If you're pro mindset,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
right? If you're pro mindset and you're a pro model, well, the NFL doesn't do that. They don't spend the money on running backs.
No. Just a thought as we move forward.
They spend the money on receivers, quarterbacks, tackles, defensive ends, corners. That's where their money goes.
I really like Notre Dame's green on green, by the way.
Oh, other people are like,
I'm in. I'm fine with it. And I respect Notre Dame for not just wearing the same thing every week. I'm good with it.
yeah, I do too. All right, we'll wrap there. We'll be back Monday with another week of podcast. We'll get you. We'll turn the page from Alabama after this week, and we'll turn it to Ole Miss and LSU. Again, we've been brought to you by DeadSoxy. Check out their exclusive selection of NIL products at deadsoxy.com/rebels. And as always, stay soxy. So thanks to everybody for joining us in the stream. We really appreciate it. All of you. Thanks to Jeffrey for his time tonight. Thanks to all the super chatters. I don't think we touched on all of you, but we certainly appreciate all of you. And we'll be back with you Monday morning with another edition of the Oxford Exxon podcast and a full week of podcast. Until then, take care.